Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. We are here to talk more about HR. Ooh, everybody loves HR. Not really, but us in HR really try to get you to love HR or at least trust us. We are here today with my fabulous co-host in the frozen tundra of Buffalo, New York, JC. Hey, JC.
Ms. Wendy Sellers, the HR lady. It is such a pleasure to be back here. It's going to be a good day. This is going to be a good episode today. Looking forward to it.
I think so too. We're talking about going from server to HR leader. And what I mean by that is today we have a guest, Alyssa Brown, who is the Human Resources and Recruiting Manager at the restaurant sports bar franchise Twin Peaks. And Alyssa started with Twin Peaks in 2016 as a server. So that kind of server. Through dedication, education, and passion for people, she worked her way up to the corporate HR team. Hey, Alyssa, welcome. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit more about, going from server to HR and recruiting manager. Big difference.
Yes, definitely a big difference. It's been a great experience through all. I started on the franchise side in Arizona. And when I transitioned over to Dallas, I got extremely blessed that my franchise owner helped secure me an HR position here at the Dallas home office. So going from franchise to corporate, a little bit of a difference, but I've loved every second of it.
I love it. So would you consider that person maybe a mentor?
Absolutely, 100%. She really saw something in me when I was, 23 years old. She helped guide me into, a leadership role, and she showed me what a strong female leadership looks like.
I think JC has a question.
I do, actually. So very strong with the leadership side and bringing you up. I'm tracking on that. Alyssa, something's standing out to me, and Ms. Wendy, I'm going to target this question over to you as well. You didn't even, you are the HR lady. Like, you literally have a trademark on that name, okay? But if I'm not mistaken, when you started your HR journey and career, you had zero, HR on your radar. Alyssa.
I would definitely say I had zero HR on my radar. I had management and leadership. Okay. And also started in restaurants and retail, and then, things
It sounded
happened.
so familiar. Yeah. So, how many people actually seek out being in HR? I mean, it seems like it might be 1%. I digress. But look, we've got strong women. We've got good leaders, and that's what's propelling you forward. You didn't grow up thinking that you wanted to be a HR person, though, right?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I hesitate to answer this since we're on an HR empowerment podcast, but I think you got to be a little bit insane to be as a child going, I want to be in HR. So going back to Alyssa, though, so you had great leadership, you had a mentor who believed in you. What does that journey going literally from a server, a waitress, what does that journey teach us about building real internal mobility today, now that we're leaders and we're in the HR space?
I would say starting as a server, that gave me a ground level experience, and it really shaped on how I lead today. I don't think it happened by accident. I think the leaders that I had in my stores took time to coach me, develop me. They trusted me with more responsibility early on. They saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. They asked me to train new hires. They helped me with scheduling. And eventually they asked me to step into what we consider a shift lead role, which is kind of like a mini manager, essentially. And that just built my confidence that they saw me and they valued me and they drove me into an upward mobility.
LinkedIn's Learning 2024 Workplace Learning Report. They found that only 33% of organizations offer formal internal mobility programs. Believe it or not. Wendy, Back
Wow.
to you.
Well, you know what? That's awesome for your company to actually have that, an internal mobility program, even if it was unofficial. And you're right, Alyssa, going back to what you said about like the shift lead. It's like a little bit of a mini manager, a little bit of a step on, oh, maybe I'll start doing the interview and go, oh, that's scary. Let me go back out. Oh, you know what's worse than or scarier than interviewing is having to give that first difficult conversation, right? To somebody that just 10 minutes ago, well, not really, maybe 10 days ago, was your peer. And you still might even be going out for drinks with them or whatever. And now you got to give them some feedback to say, guess what? Things didn't go so well today. And this is what's going to happen. Did that happen to you?
So many times. It was a learning curve to go from peer to boss in their eyes. I never saw myself as a boss. I saw myself more as a leader because I believe there is a difference. But in, my peers' eyes, I was their boss in that sense. And those conversations were very difficult. It did put a strain on some friendships, but to this day, I do still have communication and I am still friends with some of those servers I started out with in 2016. Because as we got older and we understood more, they knew that at the end of the day, I was just doing my job and I was trying to help them be better servers and bartenders on their end also.
Right. Because if they're better, that means they're going to make more money because they're going to have customers going, I want that person as my waiter or waitress. I want that person to work with me. And I want to give that person a big fat tip.
Yes, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's so important. I wanted to go back to JC's question, though, about, hey, did you envision being in HR? I actually initially, well, when I was a child, wanted to be a veterinarian because I loved animals. And then I get into science and I was like, this probably isn't for me. So then I was like, okay, maybe I could do the people medical side of it. Still was like, nope, can't do that. It's not for me. So then I switched to healthcare administration. So it's still medical, but I could help, with the healthcare administration and got 2 degrees in that. And while I didn't ever end up really in that career, I naturally ended up somewhere similar to you where they said, hey, we think you would be a really good HR person. And then I did go back to school and got all the degrees, all the certifications, all the licenses. And I would recommend to other people that are listening to not do it that way because it's very expensive and you'll be paying student loans off forever, like I still am.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about culture as a growth engine. Restaurants are known for fast pace and high turnover. Yet your organization, from what I hear, has built a fun, supportive culture that fuels the growth. So is that true?
Absolutely.
What are the specific behaviors or practices that keep that culture alive as the company continues to scale?
So I would say we're very intentional about protecting our culture. We believe that culture, it's the growth engine, not just a nice to have feature added on. So first, we hire and we promote for values just as much as skill set. I feel like we can teach our systems and execution, but we cannot teach somebody's attitude, accountability, how they treat others when they're under pressure. As you know, this is a high pressure job sometimes. So we select leaders based on how they show up for their teams and not just business results at the end of the day. And then the other thing that we really look for is our leadership staying visible and accessible. So our leaders are always visible in the restaurants. They're always present. They're on the floors. They jump in real time. When help is needed, you will see general managers on the kitchen line cooking when the tickets get backed up or running food and running drinks. Teamwork from the top down is a key behavior that we look for to help keep that culture alive.
In 2024, the U.S. accommodation and food services industry's annual average total separations rate sat at 5.5%. There's a little bit going on there in regards to culture and retention. Wendy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think most people, maybe not most people that I know, at one point have worked in a restaurant or retail, even if it was as a teenager. And if you don't do it right, like it seems like you're doing with Twin Peaks, you're going to have a lot of involuntary turnover and voluntary. And unfortunately, you're going to be always desperate for hires. And then I see a lot of restaurants, taking that desperation and they're hiring the wrong people. So what are your thoughts on that?
I always say that on the bus, there's a perfect seat for everybody. Finding that
Yes.
perfect seat is key. There are some, behaviors and traits that don't make the bus.
Yeah, absolutely. And, before I have a statistic I wanted to share with you, but before I said that, I just want to tell you, I am so excited to hear that your company focuses on behavior, employee behavior, and what I call company values. I've written two books, and there's actually one of my books specifically outlines how to create company values. Why do I do that? Because all day, every day, when my phone rings with a client, it's usually because somebody's acting a fool and they don't know what to do. And so, for those people that are listening, listen to Alyssa right now and to myself and really focus on behaviors. I just asked a client today, a new client that was calling me for help. I'm like, do you have expected behaviors? This is how you need to behave in our workplace in your handbook. And if you don't, get it in there. And I even go a step further, Alyssa, and I put them in my job descriptions so that it's very clear, like, you will be promoted or not retained if you do not behave the way we want you to behave. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm fully on board with that. We have that in our handbook. We have it in certain assessments that we use during the recruitment process that strictly focus on behavior. And are they going to be a good fit for our culture that we have worked very hard to achieve? We really focus on those assessments and those talent acquisition development processes that we've put into place.
Yeah, and then they're going to be a little bit more engaged too, since they're like, hey, all right, I'm in it to win it with you. And yeah, I screwed up yesterday. You gave me feedback. You told me what the consequences are. Oh, I don't know. Maybe you gave me some extra training and development because I needed that. And then ta-da, they're going to be engaged. I saw this statistic from Gallup that said employees who strongly agree that their workplace culture respects diverse backgrounds are 3.6 times more likely to be engaged at work. So it turns out diversity matters in restaurants, retail, and every organization, right?
Absolutely.
Moving on here, I want to talk about burnout, unfortunately, because it is an industry that you're in. I'm going to say retail and restaurant together are both very, very high levels of burnout. So hiring at a scale without burning people out at Twin Peaks, it can be intense, right?
Oh yes, there's some days you just want to pull your hair out.
What strategies have you found most effective besides pulling your hair out? But what strategies have you found most effective for attracting the right people while still prioritizing people's, self wellness and long term retention?
So first, I would say that we're very clear and honest during the recruitment process. And most importantly, we know who we're recruiting for. So going back to that talent acquisition, we've created custom talent acquisition and career development processes based on certain behavioral skills needed in our industry and for Twin Peaks, because there's a little bit of a difference there. So our tailored processes allow us to measure what Twin Peaks success looks like against the candidate's skills during that interview process. And we try to set up very realistic expectations about the pace, the standards, and the culture from the start, so that when candidates understand what the job truly looks like and the support that they're going to receive along the way, we are attracting people who actually align with our mission.
Shocker, right? Who would have thought to even do that? Go ahead, JC.
Yeah, no, interestingly, SHRM reported as of December 2024 that among employees who rate their organization's culture as good or excellent, 15% say that they are actively or will soon be looking for a new job. So that is an interesting number. Out of that 100%, 15% say that they're going to be looking for a new job. So it kind of shades to a sign of retention with very good culture in a way. I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does, but it also says that, even if you have an amazing, amazing culture, people still may be looking for a new job for whatever reason. It could be, just talking about restaurant and retail, often, not always, but often many people get into that job, as one of their first jobs, or a job that's even later in life that they're changing careers. And so I think people, and Alyssa, you tell me, I think, managers and companies that are in the retail and restaurant space, they need to be realistic that there's going to be a regular amount of turnover, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think in this industry, you have so many different factors that you deal with between, long working hours, a changing schedule. A lot of people, they expected 9 to 5 and they know they have weekends off. And in the restaurant industry, we don't get weekends off. When the restaurant's open, we got to have managers there. So that burnout really happens because a lot of people get into this industry and they don't expect not having that set schedule, I think is a big factor.
Yeah, it really is. I have quite a few friends in retail and restaurant management, and or just retail and restaurant as an employee or as a manager, even as chefs. And it's the question every week is, oh, what's your schedule this week? And these are grown adults, but they're used to it. And if you don't want to stay in that type of environment, you need to, I would say, okay, let me go talk to my HR person or the ops person if there is no HR, and let them know, hey, I only plan on being here for a year and a half because I'm finishing school and this is what I'm going to do. And I think having a culture like yours where, you're focused on training people and making sure they don't burn out will allow people to speak up. The other cultures, people just hide that information because they're like, oh, as soon as they find out, I'm going to get fired. What are your thoughts on that?
I'd say we're very transparent. So we have so many individuals that come to us and they're just starting their management career. So they come in with just a few years experience. They just really want to get some restaurant experience under their belt, see if they like it. They're very transparent in the interview process of, hey, this may only be a 2 to 5 year career for me. We're okay with that. We will train you and teach you as much as we can in that time frame. And that also gives us an idea of, okay, so we need to replace this person in a few years. They don't want to grow, or they can come back and say, listen, I love this company. I love the culture. What could be my next step from here? And we have a whole bunch of training processes laid out from starting as an assistant manager all the way up to director of operations to VP. We have it all built in for them if they choose to have that.
I love it. Transparency, so important. Go ahead, JC.
Yeah. You're already giving me thoughts as to, when I do get fired, when Wendy lets me go, I might call you. I'm just saying, that's all. Sorry, Wendy.
Speaking of getting fired or more quit rates, there is information from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that U.S. accommodation and food services had 4.8% quit rates in November of 2025. So that's pretty recent. And I think that if you are in hospitality, you do need to be focusing on anything that will retain people, benefits, wellness programs, employee assistance. But Alyssa, you've already nailed it of training and development and support. So what do you, when did this all hit an aha moment with you that you were able to help the organization say, we need to take a look at things a little bit differently? Any interesting benefit or wellness program you want to share with us?
I don't know if we have anything that's, crazy out of the ordinary. We offer as much work-life balance as we can. We're very understanding when somebody needs time off or they have in a family emergency. We have directors of operations that will step in and run shifts if we're shorthanded because of things along those lines. We offer, a standard benefit program that most companies do with, medical, health, dental, vision, things along those lines. It's same with our PTO program. It accrues over your period with us. The longer you're with us, the more you get.
Yeah.
Pretty standard of most companies. So no really aha moments or anything, just really focused on work-life balance and informing our managers of how much we appreciate the hours that they do put in and showing that recognition and that they're valued team members, I think is really what a lot of employees want to hear.
LinkedIn's 2024 Workplace Learning Report found that companies with very strong learning cultures, they have a 57% higher retention than those with baseline learning cultures. Back to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is exactly what we're talking about, is helping the employee become what they want to be. And before I ask Alyssa this question, I'm going to also say that, LinkedIn had a report too very similar to what Alyssa did as well, is that employees who make internal moves are 40% more likely to stay at a company for at least 3 years. So I love that. That's basically what happened with you, right, Alyssa?
Yeah, and I can say that happened for a lot of people here at our corporate office. I can think of 3 individuals that have been with us since the doors opened at Louisville. They've spent the last 20 years of their lives with Twin Peaks, and they've started from servers all the way up to working in our marketing department, being kitchen managers. Um, it's impressive, honestly, the retention that we have in our corporate office.
And I think also it does, if you hired somebody from the outside industry to come in and they don't know a darn thing about running a kitchen or a restaurant, then you have to go give them a little bit of the training of like, okay, this is what happens. So it's just a smart move. How do you think investing in internal career paths strengthens franchise confidence and drives long-term business growth?
I think that when franchisees see that strong internal career path, it shows a more stable company and the leadership depth. I would say that they know the brand can scale without relying on those outside hires. I think it also improves, to what you said, operational consistency. Leaders who grew within the system, they know our standards and they can coach others more effectively. Plus, it strengthens the alignment between corporate and the field. I use this all the time when I'm hosting roundtables or I'm dealing with an HR crisis. I'll tell the frontline employee, hey, I was you a few years ago. I understand how you're feeling. I understand what you're going through. And I think that really breaks down that wall that frontline feels HR can never understand what I'm going through. When they see the growth where people started and they're like, oh, wait, I can grow into corporate. I can grow up and not be a server my whole life. I can really excel in this position and with this company.
I love it. Talk to me more about these roundtables without giving out any confidential information, of course.
It's just a touch base just to make sure that everything in the field is aligning with how we're hoping it's going. Since we can't be in every single restaurant every single day, it's nice to be able to get that in time or in real time feedback from the frontline servers to make sure that, our policies and procedures and our training that we've really focused on with these managers is being displayed in real time. And they heard the training and they took strides and, they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing.
Talk to me about, how your company handles hiring. I hear that you hire pretty fast.
Yes, we try to not prolong the hiring process. We don't feel it's fair to the candidate to be stuck in limbo for days and weeks on end. So we attempt to have it completed within a week if timing aligns, depending on schedules with our directors, depending on the candidate's schedule.
So maybe not even by the end of the week, though, right? I mean, this could be like literally on the spot. Like you could be recruiting, someone walks in, you interview them, and you're hired, like just like that, right? Get to work.
Not necessarily. Okay. Managers, we try to do about minimum, we could get something completed in 3 days. You have your first initial interview with the recruiter. You complete your assessments. If the assessments look good, the recruiter sends you over to the director of operation. Director of operation interviews you. If that all goes well, you do your final interview, possibly a day in the life. And if that goes well, we give a verbal offer. So it could, depending on timing, be done in 3 to 5 days.
That's awesome.
It typically takes, probably 2 weeks just because of scheduling. A lot of current candidates are currently working. So we go around their work schedule. We have directors do interviews at 6, 7 o'clock at night, just because that's what works for the candidate. And we don't want them to be stuck in, you have to interview between 9 and 5.
Yes, thank you.
We do whatever we can to go around, candidate schedules. We know that they're working, we're working, we'll do whatever we can to, make that connection.
I love it. Geez, it just makes sense, right? Interviewing candidates during the time period that they would actually work versus having them come in on a Monday at 2,
It's a great idea, actually. Yeah, but you're not just hiring like 1 or 2 people, though. Like, you hire at volume? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, we'll hire, we have certain PARs that we have to hit. So for each store, they have, between 4 to 8 managers, depending on the volume of the store. So we hire until we're at par. But it typically is only a few at a time. We don't want to, like I said, with the seat on the bus, there's only so many seats. We don't want to overfill the bus with people who don't align with us.
I love it.
Very short bus, very small bus, smallest bus around.
So, Alyssa, how do you spot, or how do you train your hiring managers to spot attitude and coachability in that, in those day one, day two conversations?
That's a great question.
I would say training the managers to look for leadership behaviors like reliability, problem solving. Are they open to feedback? Not just going in and saying, oh, this person's been with us for 5 years, they're ready for the next level. Not necessarily. We have frontline employees that come in and within 90 days, you can tell there's something special about that employee. They could be our next shift lead here. They could be our next training frontline employee. They could, we have new store openings that we bring our top trainers to help train the new employees. So we have all kinds of programs, but I think the managers need to look for certain behaviors very early on and not just worried about tenure.
Right. Going back to what we talked about earlier about like company values or expected behaviors, whatever you call them for your company. My other question is, since you are focused on training, which is awesome and amazing, what training is not negotiable? Like they have to have it for most of your new hires. And then I have a follow-up question to that too.
Ooh, non-negotiables. I would say,
besides the regular harassment and discrimination, but I would imagine it would be around OSHA and things like that. But what about like related to the company culture?
I would say it's how you handle pressure is a key behavior that we look for. Is how do you treat your hourly staff members when the pressure is on, when your kitchen is backed up, when the door is on an hour wait, when 2 girls called out of their shift and you've got a cook that's got to go home sick. Like, how do you handle the pressure and how do you treat others when you're handling that pressure? Are you snapping at the front line because you're frustrated? A non-negotiable for me is just the basic rules. How do you treat other people? Making sure that they, follow our policies and procedures, of course, obviously the non-harassment, all of those other things. But my big focus is how do you problem solve under pressure and how do you communicate with your hourly staff under pressure?
Problem solving under pressure, policies in practice. You're jogging my memory, let me tell you. Okay, so don't hate me for this question. I'm sorry, Wendy. I'm going to throw the curveball in here. Ms. Alyssa, what's one policy or practice that you thought would work on paper, but it failed in real life? And what replaced it?
Oh my goodness.
That's putting her on the spot.
If I know, it's a curveball.
I'm going to answer that.
All right, go ahead,
what
Wendy.
she's thinking is, I've had some companies try to do like flexible work days, but they didn't vet it out in person. Now, this isn't going to work for retail or a restaurant or hospitality because you're on a very strict schedule. But for people that are like, okay, well, you also have other duties as a supervisor, figuring out schedules, but you have to be here at 7 a.m. to do it. No, you don't. You can do that at 7 p.m. in your pajamas at home, right? You just got to get it done. But I've seen so many companies launch that. This is pre-remote. And they're just like, okay, that did not work. And then they blame the employees and yank the whole thing back. And it's like, no, it's probably leadership that failed. I say start small with a little group, a small department or a small division, and practice it there and say, okay, is this work? And let them know you're the test pilot. You're the test pilot group. Let us know if this is working, what we're doing well, what we're doing wrong, and then rolling it out to everyone. What are your thoughts on that, Alyssa?
No, I love that. Starting small and then rolling out big. We do that with new food items or new drink items that bring on once a year. We start at just a couple of test kitchens throughout the country. That way, because we know sometimes one dish may work in this region, but it doesn't work in this region. So we try it in a couple different. We get the feedback from those guests before we roll it out to all locations. But we definitely start small, start in one of our small test kitchens, get that positive or negative feedback, make the adjustments that are needed, and then we'll roll it out, to all locations.
Excellent. Well, my final question before we wrap up here, it goes back to what we started out with, is turning team members into leaders, regardless of the title. So for other HR leaders who want to replicate your success and the success of the company that you're working in, what's one practical step they can take toward tomorrow to start turning frontline employees into future leaders, especially in those high turnover environments?
I would say one thing they can do is purposeful conversations. Once you have identified an employee that has the potential in them and they have that reliability, they open to positive feedback, having a short conversation such as, I see leadership potential in you. If you're interested, here's what growth could look like for you in the next coming years. And this is what we would start building. I think just a short single conversation will make that employee make that employee feel seen and valued. And that's going to show them, okay, I can go to the next step. Or they may say, hey, I appreciate that, but this isn't for me. This is just get me through school. I'm not interested in this. And then the manager doesn't waste their time and they can move on to somebody else that they see that potential in also.
And then the employee can move on to high school from middle school.
No, that's illegal. So, I love that though. It goes back to what you were saying before about transparency, is like, if leadership is transparent to the employees, hopefully the employees will be, somewhat transparent to them to say, no, this is just getting me through college or getting me through this tough time or whatever it might be. But that doesn't mean you push them to the side, right? You still say, that's cool. While you're here, we have all these resources, training and development opportunities that can help you later on in life. And when you do that, guess what? You also gain a customer for life. So even when they walk away, they still brag to everybody like, great company, taught me a lot, didn't make me feel bad about walking away. And now I go and eat there all the time.
Exactly.
Well, this has been amazing and awesome. It just has reminded me of my days back in restaurant, way back in college. And then I moved on to retail, going through college and after college as well, and finally ended up in the space that I am. Before we wrap up, are there any resources you'd recommend for listeners into diving deeper into the overall theme of culture?
I would say look on LinkedIn. I feel like LinkedIn, there's so many individuals on there that talk about workplace culture in different types of work. There's, the corporate workplace, there's restaurants, retail, hospitals. Everyone's culture is going to be a little bit different, geared towards the clientele that they take care of, the employees that they work with. LinkedIn has so many different resources on there and so many different amazing leaders that have done, I think, trial and error. This worked, this didn't work. And you can learn from their mistakes so that you don't make the same ones.
And is that the best way for people to connect with you, via LinkedIn?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Excellent. Well, I'll make sure that Alyssa's information is in the notes of the podcast. Thank you so much. This has been fun.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody, I hope this podcast session has been beneficial and helpful to you. As a reminder, coming up at Aurora Training Advantage, we do have several webinars that may help you with the conversation that we just had. One is dealing with difficult people. We never have to do that, right? Right, Alyssa? And another one is, yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. And another one that's coming up is the language of emotional intelligence. It's the other kind of smart. So check that out. Take care, everybody, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.